This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It's 11:07 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast. You're on Ask a Rabbi.
And this is Rabbi Shafir Loeb of Congregation Eitz Chayim, trying to get the technology to be friendly. Here we go.
It's Friday the 13th.
It's Friday the something, that's for sure. So we're going to go. Here we go. Now it's there. I love technology when it decides to work.
Yep.
Yay, there we go.
And sometimes it's
go
on
live.
A 20-second delay.
Yep.
Oh, my. Yep. So how was your week?
My week was pretty good. How was yours? Mine was crazy.
Yeah, it's been crazy around here. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're getting ready for fall, and of course I'm working on winter sports for IRSC, and hopefully we'll have a 41-game schedule from your students. Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully. Operative word is hopefully.
I hear you.
But I do have my face shield. I'm ready to go if, when we play.
It's a good thing, and we're getting ready for the Jewish High Holy Day season.
Yeah, now how's that going to go now with everything that seems to be going crazy?
It's here we go. Maybe it's going to go. Yay, go live. Thinking about it. Okay.
She's trying to do
thinking
Facebook
about it.
Live over there. Yep.
Yeah. There we go. It went. Yay, I think. Think it went. Ever a joy in technology.
You've got so much stuff over. You got more stuff than we have in the radio station.
No, I don't. I just have to reconfigure everything according to what I've got here.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, it says that it's on Facebook, so I hope that people agree that it is on Facebook.
Yeah, well,
so
the good thing about your show is that you'll have instant reaction from your listeners.
Yes, I do get that. So let me start out by saying, please feel free to call if you've got a question to ask this rabbi, and that is at 772-340-1590. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that I have. So High Holy Day season, what are we doing? Very simply, we're getting a very large space so that pods can sit together. And by pods, I mean, bubbles, the groups of people that have been together through the pandemic.
Right.
And so that they can sit and be with each other and be spaced from all the other pods.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a much bigger space than I would normally get for something, right? So we're getting
walking across the street and doing it in Met Stadium.
Not quite. No, but a shout out to St. Andrews on Prima Vista.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be using their fellowship hall, which seats 250. And I don't expect that we're going to get 200, so I think we're going to be fine. Be much smaller than that.
Yeah, it's a large facility. That's
cool. It's a
cool.
large facility, and yeah.
Well, hats off to St. Andrews. That's a nice move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, we wanted. It's a bigger space than we need for this season. Especially, I think some people are still going to want to do it streamed and we're going to have that capability. We can set up this wonderful piece of technology, which, of course, you can't see because if I showed it to you, it wouldn't be zooming itself.
Well, they can see it if they're watching on YouTube, that's for sure.
Yeah. There you go. They can see it's this little tiny thing right up here for the YouTube folks.
That's amazing.
It's this little piece of technology, and it's sitting on and basically my phone is watching it. My phone can be an alternate mic, so you can set the camera a little bit of a distance away. and use your phone or your iPad as a mic.
It's amazing.
And, yeah. The only challenge I have is that sometimes the tablet works better and sometimes my phone works better to connect it. And I have yet to figure that out. So, what can I say?
Stand
Technology
in
is
line.
wonderful.
Are you kidding? Yeah.
Technology is wonderful when it works.
Yeah, I'm going to be using a piece of new equipment that we've got for the sports area, and we'll just see how that works. It looks like it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing. Whoops. Okay, now that one's even funnier because what can I say?
You've been freeze framed, I'll bet.
I got elbowed or something. I touched the wrong thing and it hopped to it. As I said, technology is wonderful when it works.
Uh-huh. Oh boy!
And hopefully the sound is decent. It's got 3 mics in it. It's an interesting piece of equipment. So a shout out to the Sharon who let me know about it.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah. It's I guess a lot of organizations have gone to this camera as opposed to going straight from your phone, which does still work, but it has its challenges.
Now, is Sharon your Tucson friend?
That's a different Sharon.
Different Sharon.
That's why I said the Sharon who let me know about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, speaking of Tucson, man, did you see some of the rains that went through there? It's the monsoons. I was, oh boy, do I remember that. Swimming up Campbell Avenue.
Oh, I used to live at Campbell and Prince and Campbell.
Oh, you were way up there then.
Yeah. We were we were at the edge of the flatlands.
We were down in Alvernon, in the flatlands. Yeah.
You were further in.
Yeah.
Well, the city has grown. The city grew a lot since you left, and the city has mushroomed since I left.
Yeah.
It's it's worth noting the city didn't really grow. It was the little old sleepy pueblo until air conditioning.
The old pueblo.
Yeah, air conditioning really made it take off. A couple of interesting pieces about Tucson. Tucson's population grew steadily until the train came in, and then it became safe to leave Tucson, and the population went down the following year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
If
you had to do it by stagecoach, people didn't want to leave.
Where did they go?
Anywhere.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and so here's another little piece that influenced both Tucson and Phoenix, which was L.A. or San Diego going to be the dominant port in California, because that shifted the line of commerce through Arizona.
Ooh.
Yeah. Right. So if you want to go to California now, you go up to Phoenix and turn left.
Yeah.
And that made Phoenix bigger than Tucson.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah.
So sometimes things that influence us are things far beyond our control. I
never would have thought of that.
So, right. Those are, in business, we do something called a SWOT, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
You bet.
And where other things are in the world affect the opportunities and the threats.
And if you think about I-10 versus I-8, I-10 is flatter because I-8, you really run into those mountains as you head into California.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Wow. I never would have thought of that. But, Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Incredible. It's just incredible. So let's talk about High Holy Days now.
High Holy Day season. Yeah. So, right, that's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, usually called the Jewish New Year, and we do change the counting on the year. It'll go from 5781 to 5782 in a little over a month and a half. Not even a month and a week. Oh gosh, the season is like disappearing on me overnight, and so many things to do. It's nothing new about that. Semester ending at IRSC. We got one more week left of it, and then summer B is done, and then fall doesn't start until mid-October, and the Jewish High Holy Days are right behind that. So the High Holy Day season. It'll start with Rosh Hashanah. This year, the holidays are on the weekday rather. So that's going to affect schools.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Port St. Lucie schools let the kids off on Yom Kippur. They will have school scheduled on Rosh Hashanah, which is unfortunate. That's really unfortunate.
I think Martin lets them off for that.
A lot of schools in the country do. And part of that's also a kindness to the teachers. You've got a significant number of teachers who happen to also be Jewish. And,
sure.
But, yeah, hopefully someday we'll get the calendars coordinated so that students will be off and they won't have to choose between having a good attendance record and observing their religion. It's really a freedom of religion issue.
Yeah, one of our high school football games with Westwood up here is going to be on a Thursday versus a Friday because of the High Holy Days. Supposedly.
Which week?
Oh, it's in there somewhere. I have no idea.
Okay, so for those who want to know which days we're talking, you can find it on any calendar. Rosh Hashanah starts on Labor Day, starts Monday night the 6th, and goes the 7th. Some people observe the 8th as well. Yom Kippur starts Wednesday night and goes Thursday and is all day Thursday. So,
my first exposure to that was with the LA Dodgers and Sandy Koufax. This is when I was a little boy. Sandy Koufax sat out the World Series because of the High Holy Days.
Yeah.
And that was my first exposure. I said, why in the world is he not pitching? Yeah. That was
because he wasn't going to pitch.
That's right.
He was going to be in shul.
He was observing.
He's going to be in temple.
Yeah.
And it's an important day. The people who say it's a get out of jail free don't begin to get the holiday.
Get out of jail.
Well, that's what some people think. You go to a day of prayer and your sins are forgiven, and that's not how it works. I tell my congregation that there's good news and bad news. The good news is that anything about which you're truly repentant, and that's the operative words, truly repentant, is forgiven. The problem is that you have to do the work to get to the truly repentant place. And Yom Kippur does not forgive for the sins that we do against other human beings. It's the sins against God that we're working on. So in order to come and do that, we have to have worked on the people issues.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. So, and this is the beginning of that season. It'll get more intense as we get closer. But you're expected to go and ask for forgiveness for anybody that you have wronged. And, I always enjoy the people who say, well, you've got to apologize first. That's not the point of it. That's not the point of it.
That sounds rather grade school.
Yeah. Well, lots of people got stuck there.
Oh, name one. No,
I'm not going to name anybody.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm not going to go anywhere with that. But this is a perfectly great segue time to say, please feel free to give me a call at 772-340-1590. I do want to thank everybody, by the way, who came to our plant sale. We had a great plant sale last weekend. I'm still recovering.
This is your second annual plant sale at the temple.
Yeah, our second monthly.
Yeah, there you go.
Monthly.
I love that.
Yeah,
concept.
We're doing it now every fourth Sunday and the Monday after.
That's so cool.
And there are people that I think are going to be watching for it from now on, and enjoyed that. I've got a whole bunch of new stuff that I'm going to have at the plant sale next month.
It's the beauty of Florida where we have the luxury of growing anything almost all year.
It gets pretty hot in summer, and there are some things you have to be a little bit sensitive to. Somebody was asking me about a plant and said, is this an indoor or an outdoor plant? And of course, the lovely answer is that in Florida you can grow it outside. But if you're going to grow it outside, find a shady spot for this one because it doesn't like that much sun. If it gets exposed to the full sun, as it would have in Tucson as well, it'll go, right? Too much sunlight.
But much drier in Tucson.
Yeah. So the shade plants do well indoors here in Florida. And, yeah. It also depends how they're raised from the time that they're first rooted and what they get acclimated to. It's one of the interesting pieces. I've got 2 swallow in my backyard, and they have a clip on them that tells me which side faces the sun, because they don't like to turn once they get started. And if you look carefully at a swallow, you can see a different pattern and a different density to the spines on the sun side and on the shade side.
Wow, I never noticed that.
Yeah.
Huh.
The spines actually do create some insulation and some shade for the cactus. It's not a huge difference, but it's noticeable. You can see it visually without having to get, some kind of a micrometer or something like that going. You can see it.
Wow.
So
okay.
They do respond to that big time. And it's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm still in the state of shock that your saguaro survived here in Florida.
There are a number of them around, and if you take care of them, they don't like to freeze. They don't like to have their feet wet. So as long as you give them good drainage, they're pretty happy.
Well, on our sandy soil, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, and that's true. If you just build them up even just a little bit of a mound, then they get really good drainage around here. So, yeah.
Very cool.
That's the key to it. Right now, they're sitting in my backyard going, do you know how hot it is in Florida?
It's triple digits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and not that it isn't hot in Arizona, but it's, of course, a dry heat except for the monsoons, which is definitely not a dry heat. But it's still not as humid as it is here.
And for folks who wonder, we joke about the dry heat. But it
is different.
Phoenix is different from Tucson.
Oh.
A, because of altitude, but B, because of all the irrigation that goes on in Phoenix.
Right. The irrigation, the amount of blacktop and concrete have dramatically impacted Phoenix, and the actual temperature of Phoenix is higher than Tucson.
Always.
People think that as you go to Tucson, it's going to be hotter. No, you can feel the humidity and the temperature falling off as you drive down. I've driven that. I've been in a convertible driving from Phoenix to Tucson, and you can feel the difference.
It gets cooler.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You go from Casa Grande south, and it's
a noticeable difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And then there's rain. What can I say? There's lots of things going on. So back to High Holy Days. I'm going to keep pulling us back to the topic this week, Greg. Greg, rather. So starts out with Rosh Hashanah. That begins the 10 days of awe, the 10 days of what's it all about. And the idea is that you can't change what you did last year. You can do repentance. You can do restitution. You can do those kinds of things, and you need to do those in order to go into the new year as clean as you can. But the reality is that when you flip the page and it's no longer 5781, it's now 5782. There is a blank piece of paper. And it takes a while for people to get it that we direct the pen. It's not directed for us. We direct the pen that writes our life. We can't control the outside things like whether or not San Diego or Los Angeles become the big port cities in California. We can't control the external stuff, but we can control what we do about it. right? Do we take the I-10 straight off of Tucson and head west, or do we take it up to Phoenix? And right, so that how the road was built was a human decision. All right, because 10 comes in at Tucson rather, turns north and then makes another jog.
Yeah, and up at Casa Grande, you could take I-8 and head straight into San Diego.
There you go.
Valley. Yep.
And people do.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful ride. It's a beautiful, beautiful ride. It's one of the things I wished I had time to do when I was there. We just never took that much travel time.
Unless you're in a U-Haul truck.
Hmm?
One of the adventures that Carol and I had when we were moving from Tucson to San Diego was this U-Haul truck that must have had 3 horsepower. And boy, I'll tell you, I didn't think I was going to make it up the hill. Mountains.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But
well, it is those mountains that made Bill not want to take the motorhome up that way.
Very smart move.
Yeah.
Smart move. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that was part of why we never did do it, because with our animals, we would have done it with the motorhome. And taking the motorhome over the Rockies, probably not going to work.
No.
There were enough hills and vales getting to Tucson, coming in out of New Mexico and all of that.
Sure,
it's a beautiful ride. So yeah, so Rosh Hashanah begins the 10 days of awe, 10 days of hopefully deep introspection. The liturgy in the prayer book takes a shift and talks about turning and returning to God.
Now, how many days will you actually be at the temple or at St. Andrew's at this case?
Well, it'll be the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah and then the night today of Yom Kippur.
Okay.
And Yom Kippur is spent entirely the whole day. I don't even. My husband goes home and takes care of the dogs. Thank you, Bill. But I don't even leave the temple.
So now, is there fasting involved?
Yes, it's a complete fast. It's a food and water fast. It's complete, and it starts at sunset on. Excuse me. It starts at sunset at Erev, or the evening of Yom Kippur, which is called Kol Nidre, and that's named for a prayer that is said at the beginning of the service, actually before the service itself starts. Which is, God, it's kind of an interesting, it's a very weird prayer. It's an interesting prayer. It's God, forgive us for those things that we vow or say we're going to do that we, in our heart of hearts, know we're not going to do. Okay? For one reason or another. Forgive us before we even do that. Just, know us outright that we are perfectly human. And that's an important Jewish concept. We are not expected to be perfect beings. We are expected to be perfectly human. And it's a very subtle little piece. We are expected to fall short. We are expected to go astray. We are expected to be human. God is smart enough to know that we are human. God made us. God knows that we're going to fall short. And so this beginning of the prayer is, we're going to give it our best effort, but that we're going to say we're going to go to the gym every day, and we're just not going to make it every day. We know that up front. You know that up front. It doesn't knock away the sincerity of the promise, but don't hold us to it.
It's actually pretty dramatic.
Yeah, it's actually done very dramatically. It's the most dramatic service of the year, in that the Torahs are brought out, in all of the Torahs are brought out and held in front of the congregation. And the congregation does this standing. It's a court, and it's convened, if you will, and it's in the liturgy that we are now convening a holy court where God and Torah stand before us, and we enter this judgment period of Yom Kippur. And from that point until the sun goes down the next day, assuming you are able to fast, you're not allowed to put your health at danger. So diabetics are not allowed to fast. People who have to take food with medicine are not allowed to fast. Pregnant or nursing women are not allowed to fast, because those You're not allowed to endanger your health or anybody else's health for the fast. It's not for that purpose.
Again, that makes perfect sense.
It does. Well, the idea is to not be distracted by food, but if you need food, then you are, in fact, obligated to eat because you're obligated to keep yourself healthy. And so, from that dramatic prayer, and, there's a cello that typically plays, and it's quite beautiful. And that's so that you can sit and ponder the words that you have said. And in our congregation, we do them both in Hebrew and in English, because I think that that's important for people to totally understand what the words say.
I was just going to ask you, is this going to be bilingual? Okay.
It in our congregation, it is. Not every congregation. Some congregations just do the Hebrew and expect the congregation, and most Jews do not understand Hebrew.
I would expect Orthodox would be like that, right?
Some Orthodox understand it. Some just know the words. It's not, they don't speak it usually. So it's a prayer language. So, nuances can be lost. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's different when you speak it. And being multilingual, I will also tell you that I am absolutely confident that I miss many nuances. I sit here and I wonder how many puns and references do I miss, because even though I speak Hebrew, my Hebrew is this weird blend of modern biblical liturgical Hebrew. And I pick up a lot of things that I know that people who only speak modern Hebrew don't pick up. And I also miss things because we don't have all the references anymore.
Do you think Hebrew?
Sometimes. Sometimes I do, and I've dreamed in Hebrew.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, they always joked with me and said, well, when you dream in it, then it's real. And I've dreamt in Hebrew. I watch Israeli TV and films, and there might be subtitles there, but I'm usually not reading them. I know that because my eyes drift away from the screen, and I'm still, with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's really interesting. I remember, when Carol was talking about, and of course she speaks 4 or 5 languages, that the immersion was always the best, where they would actually, think and as you say, dream in that language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, coming, say, midway through that day, you're praying all this day then?
Yeah, it's a series of, it's not one steady service, although in some congregations it is, and people just come and go and take breaks as they need to. For us, what we do is we do a morning service, we do an afternoon service. We have something called the goats. And we're going to do the goats. I've got to figure out exactly how we're going to do the goats and still. One of the things that we're asking for the people who are there physically is that you be vaccinated. That's going to be a requirement. So, we'll be able to do the goats. And everything that's done in the goats is safe, and we'll figure out how to space it a little more than we normally do.
All right, explain that one.
No,
goats.
I'm not going to explain the goats. You have to come if you want to see it.
Okay. Oh, film at 11. Oh. Cool.
Yeah, the goats is a big part of who and what we do. And the only thing I'll say that is at the end of it, a whole bunch of good stuff ends up at a shelter somewhere and I don't know which shelter. We don't know. We take it to the first responders, and they take it to one of the shelters that they know. We don't tell them which one. So it leaves us and it goes to them, and they act as our couriers. So a thank you to them.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is an offering that goes as part of the goat process. So we'll do that, and we do something called Yiskor. Yiskor is a set of prayers that we do 4 times a year. It was originally set up as part of the Yom Kippur liturgy, but it's so powerful that it has moved to the other major holidays of the year, which includes Sukkot, which is usually called tabernacles or booths, and Pesach or Passover, and then Shavuot, Pentecost. So those major holidays through the year also have a Yizkor service associated with them. And that is a time of remembering those that we've lost. Mm-hmm. And that's a very, very powerful service. Again, we do it a little bit uniquely at Congregation Eitz Chayim in that we have a very tactile ritual that's a part of it, and we'll do that again. We'll do it safely and carefully. So, yeah, lots of interesting things going to be happening
as this challenging period continues.
Well, the Delta variant coming up, the headline on the forward, one of the Jewish papers in America said, congregations started planning the holidays and then Delta.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was very interesting watching nightly news last night, the Israelis again seem to like they lead the world. They're starting the vaccination updates.
Yeah.
The boosters.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to that pretty quickly here. And so yeah, I think that there's going to be yearly updates. I don't see COVID leaving anytime soon, really. It's worth noting, was it one of the spokespeople for the Martin Health System said something like 90% of the people were unvaccinated.
Rob Lord, the chairman of the board, a good guy.
Yeah, when I saw that, it was like, really, folks, there was no cost associated with the vaccine. There's no cost, and
well, there is. Somebody's paying for it.
Well,
but
yes,
we're not. You're right.
You're right. Let me back up.
Yeah.
There's no personal cost
Correct.
associated.
Yeah, there's no
cost to you.
Yeah, there's
for
no
doing it other than the time and maybe planning a little bit of light activity immediately after, and that's only in case you get any kind of a reaction. I know that I didn't, and you didn't have a reaction to it. The biggest thing I'm hearing from some people is a little bit of soreness in the arm that gets the vaccine for a very short period of time, like a day or less.
After the second shot, had a fever and stayed at home for half a day. It was fine in the afternoon.
Yeah, I had planned a day off and ended up not doing it. It was perfectly fine.
Yeah, same with us.
So, and I'm so glad for everybody that I encouraged that did go and now has it, and it's made things a whole lot easier.
So, just looking at the temple, most of your folks vaccinated there?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Certainly the folks that are coming into services are vaccinated. I'm still wearing the shield. I'm wearing the shield, though, not because of vaccine issues, but because I haven't gotten the microphone adjusted off of the shield. And I don't know that I'm going to worry about doing that until after the High Holy Day season, because I do plan to wear the shield for that.
It's not bad. I was used to it last year, and it's fine.
So it's adjusted, and the gains and all of that stuff. Of course, I do have to go and test it out for the equipment at St. Andrews and see how we're going to fit there. I don't know if we'll take our speakers and our sound box with us or not. Though those are all to be determined in the coming weeks.
Yeah, there you go.
Some of the work to be done.
At least you have a little time. Not much, but you have
just a little bit of time. Not much.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you, St. Andrews. That's very
absolutely.
Nice.
We greatly appreciate that. We looked at a number of different facilities, and that's seems to be the one that came through. So, yeah. So there will be space for people. We'll be doing a break fast at the end of Yom Kippur that evening. And so, there's even Ne'ilah, the last service, the closing. Ne'ilah is the closing of the gates for walled, gated cities, gated communities, the original gated communities.
Walled cities.
Yeah, walled
Gated
cities.
communities.
Jerusalem, Jericho was one, right? Most of the old cities were gated. And at sunset, the gates to the city close, and that's part of the idea of where curfew comes from, because you wanted to be inside the city walls when it got dark. There was protection associated with that.
Yeah.
Plus, lighting and other things that can go on inside the city gates. So, yeah. Full day of prayer. I'm obviously whooped by the end of it. I kind of collapse into a small heap. But it's a very powerful service, and we'll move forward. We'll have some of the pieces will be played on the camera. So we're gonna minimize part of the singing in different ways. So we've got different things planned. And it'll be a different service again. It'll be different from last year, and it'll be different probably from what we'll do in the future. And it's certainly different from what we've done in the past.
We don't know the future. I mean,
we don't know where it's going to go.
It's like, some of the real conservative folks are saying, the message from the CDC is changing every day. So is a stupid virus.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's going to continue to do that.
Sure it is.
And I love the people who think this is something brand new. It's like, you weren't around, most of us, when the Spanish flu came through. But we've got pictures of people. There's a very cute picture. It's actually a Rosh Hashanah card, and it says "mask up." And
Really?
It's from the Spanish flu, and they've got the cat mask too.
That's funny. Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some of the things that haven't changed: mask and wash your hands.
Yeah.
So important.
Which again seems also obvious.
So intuitive. Yeah, you would think it'd be intuitive, but it doesn't appear to be.
No, doesn't. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just don't learn.
No, I don't think we do. So another shout out, if you want to give me a call and talk about any of these things or something else, 772-340-1590. Please feel free to give me a call to the radio station, and we'll have your question. So High Holy Days, again, no eating, no drinking, and then it's a 25 to 26 hour fast. For rabbis and cantors, a little bit longer, because you're always getting ready for the service, and so you don't get to eat.
So some of the other religions of the world, do they have something similar?
Well, each group has something different. All right, so you've got Lent, that's a repentant period for Christians, where you give up something. You decide what it is. It's supposed to be something significant to you, so that you'll be mindful of it.
M&Ms?
Whatever it is. Okay, I'm not going there.
No, don't, please.
No, I get in enough trouble without adding to it, and.
But like the Hindus and Buddhists?
Yeah, they've all got something. Muslims have Ramadan.
Yes.
Right, which is a daylight fast. So they eat during the dark hours.
That's 30 days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lunar month. It's the whole month of Ramadan. So everybody's got different approaches. And that's... We're going to be entering the, and ironically, we're coming up here on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And 9/11 occurred during this time, during the lead up to Rosh Hashanah. It was exactly 1 week. It was the Tuesday before Rosh Hashanah. And one of the things that impacted 9/11 was that there are additional prayers that are said in the week leading up to Rosh Hashanah. And so it takes longer to do the morning services. So the Orthodox Jews got to the Trade Center a little bit later and were at different places as a result of all that. There was a great big rumor that said that the original schedule for 9/11 had actually been the week later so that it could be said the Jews weren't there because they knew that. But, of course, Jews wouldn't have been at work because they would have been
Right.
at services. And that it got moved a week earlier because of some internal stuff inside Al-Qaeda.
Okay.
Yeah. Al-Qaeda. So, who knows? The people who know are not here anymore. And, that would have been an interesting PR piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. Well, to think that your enemies don't know your schedule is to be naive. It's public knowledge. It's on the calendar. It's not a secret. And just as we know that Muslims tend to observe Ramadan during Ramadan, it gives you some idea of what they're doing and where they are. And, so the mosque, when it was burned in Fort Pierce, was actually right after a big dinner that the community had had. And fortunately, it happened late enough that everybody was out of the building. Right. Yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah, it absolutely was. That's, that goes under the category of those are the things that I don't want our community to make the news with.
Exactly. No.
And
No kidding.
I tell people I don't want to see Port St. Lucie on a hurricane map, and I don't want any part of the Treasure Coast in any of that kind of news.
Well, and when you had the imam in here, it was interesting that you hear him talk about his religion, and it's all the same. It seems like
Religions are. It's one God, and I was actually saying this in my philosophy class. Right, it's one universe created by one God. How can there be multiple gods creating the one world on which forget the universe? How can there be multiple gods creating Earth simultaneously? If you believe in a creator God, and if you believe that is one God who creates one world, and you live on that world, how can the Muslim, the Jew, the Christian, the Hindu have anything else other than that same one creator God? Might call that God a different name, as likely, and I always love watching the faces in the congregation, in the classroom when I say this. Allah is simply God in Arabic, just as Dios is God in Spanish. It's not a different God from the God that we call God in English. Dios.
Mm-hmm.
Deo.
Sure.
Right, it's this, it's the same God. It's just a different language. And I, people go, oh yeah, it is Dios in Spanish. It's not a different God. So if a Jew or a Christian prays in an Arab-speaking country in Arabic, if they pray in Arabic, it doesn't matter where they are. If
Sure.
they pray in Arabic, they're going to call God Allah. Because that simply means God. It's not a different God. It's not, a five-legged God or anything like that. It's the same creator God creating the same universe. We are different. God is not Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu. God is God. God doesn't go to church. God doesn't go to synagogue. God doesn't go to mosques. God is. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And, we choose different ways that work for us. So, there's a wonderful song by cantor Steve Clapper. And in there he says, ain't no religion better than the rest. I love the yeah. The song is Ain't No Child to Go Hungry. So he uses ain't, and Yeah, and one of the lines in there is, "Ain't no religion better than the others," and what that means, that doesn't mean that you should join a different religion because it's no better. There is a religion that's perfect for you, and it's the one that you observe, providing it doesn't lead you to hurt people or animals, or that it providing that you are part of because the teaching within each of them is to do things kindly, humanely, with respect, to treat everybody as if, because we are God's creation. None of us is any different. We're all the same stuff. And it's not, Judaism is the perfect religion for me, and that's why I'm a rabbi. And it's not the same as Christianity, but it's the same God. So the practices are different. The way we approach that creator God is different, but it's not a different God. So you don't have your God and I have mine. We have the same God, but we connect to that God differently according to our religions. Right? So some of us take the north road up the mountain, some of us take the south road up the mountain. Some of us hike, some of us take the cable car. I'm thinking of Masada.
It doesn't make any difference when you're talking directly to God.
That's right. God just wants you to be godly.
Yeah.
Right. To be the best human you can be. There's a great line that we use in our funeral liturgy, actually, that is a quote of Rabbi Zusia. I love Rabbi Zusia. Maybe one of these shows I'll tell some Zusia stories. But Rabbi Zusia lived in a few hundred years ago in Europe, and he had a line that went this way: if they ask me why I was not like Moses when I die, I'll have an easy answer, because I'm not Moses. If they ask me why I'm not myself, not my best me, I'll have nothing to say in reply.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right. And so the key is to recognize yourself, to be candid with yourself. We all have. I talked at the beginning of the show about SWOT, an analysis that's used for businesses: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yep.
Do that for yourself. Recognize your strengths, use them, build on them, work on your weaknesses, don't obsess on them. Recognize the opportunities in your life, the ones that you can properly take advantage of, and recognize the threats to your happiness and your health as well. And you can do that analysis, and that in some ways, that's part of what Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is. The business model, if you will, of the days of repentance, the days of awe, the days of, what do you want to do? We start the new year at Rosh Hashanah, and by Yom Kippur, we get ready to have some inkling of a moment with God. That's the point of the holidays. Is, what do you want to say to God when it's your turn and God says to you, why weren't you the best you?
My major weakness is patience.
And I learned long ago not to pray for it, because you get things that try to teach it to you. Be careful what you pray for. Be careful what you pray for.
Uh-oh.
That's a really good way to be in this last few minutes of this session. Be careful what you pray for. If you pray for patience, then God will give you many opportunities to learn to be patient.
Ooh. Okay.
So, what can I say?
That's pretty heavy duty stuff there.
And it took me a long time to wake up and say, oh, wow, what do I want to say? What do I want to do?
Wow.
Yeah.
Plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, plenty of opportunities.
Ooh. Say no more. Oh, I'm in deep trouble now.
So I stopped praying for patience. Now, the worst prayer is, God grant me patience and do it right now, because then you'll be in traffic forever.
Yes. I only have 2 minutes. Come on. Speed it up, God. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, never give God an ultimatum. Don't ever give it to another human being, but definitely don't give it to God. That goes with how with the other song, don't pull on Superman's cape.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Jim Croce.
Don't spit into the wind. Yeah, I love that song. Don't spit into the wind. Don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger. And don't mess around with Slim.
That is the first Jim Croce mention ever in this show.
Oh, yeah?
I think so.
Oh, could be.
I think so.
Yeah, I know I've talked about Eve of Destruction. So
yeah. Well,
that's another one of my favorites.
Barry Maguire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of wonderful things in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lots of
talk about a deep song. Yeah,
seriously. There really were some very deep songs back in the day.
Previous to rap. I'm sorry.
Rap has its place. All the different music forms have their place, and each generation has its form of expression, and it comes up from what they experience. And today's kids in college can't imagine life without a cell phone, without a smartphone.
Yeah.
Not even a cell phone. But, and when I face the kids in college, right, certainly the dual enrolls and the new freshmen, for the most part, do not know of a pre-9/11 world.
No. That's just amazing.
They have no idea what it was like to be part of a check-writing cash economy. They've never known anything that wasn't a debit card. They have no idea why anybody would have ever topped off at the gas station.
Yep.
Because you always did it, right?
You bet.
Took me a long time to learn not to, well, it's 9:57. Let me take it up to 10. Right? All those things that change because the world changes around us. The opportunities and the threats change. And so our strengths and our weaknesses change. And I hear the music. That's my clue. We've certainly talked about a variety of things. Thank you for being here for Ask a Rabbi. This is Rabbi Shafir Loeb of Congregation Eitz Chayim, your Jewish home on the Treasure Coast. www.eitzchayim.org. Please consider joining us for the High Holy Day season. We'll be streaming and we'll be live. At least that's the plan right now. So see you next week. This is Rabbi Shafir Loeb.
You've been listening to Ask a Rabbi right here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie. Talking the Treasure Coast webcaster to the world. It's 12 noon.